Hi there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and I spent 5 days in Edinburgh the other day, and I went and visited several independent bookshops because it was Indie Book Week, which happens here in the UK, and I just wanted to bring you along with me. So I'll show you the bookshops, I'll talk to them about it, and periodically I'll reappear to tell you which books I got in which bookshop. So the first place that we went to was Pory Books, which is Portobello Bookshop, and it was really light and clean in there. I loved how clean it felt as a bookshop, and I really liked the sections and the recommendations. They had like feminism and black books and queer books, and I ended up picking up 2 books here on my very first stop because I could not help myself. Pory Books is also right by the beach, so then we went to the beach afterwards and just enjoyed the sunshine for a little bit and had some really good beachy food. I think the booksellers in Pory Books were really nice and friendly, and it looks like they have great events that I would definitely check out if I lived in the area. So in Pory Books I ended up getting 2 books to kick off my haul, and I picked up Don't Call Us Dead by Danez Smith. This is a poetry collection that I've just heard so many good things about. It's by a non-binary author, and I've just meant to pick it up for several years now, and when I actually saw a physical copy on display in the shop I just knew that was the one for me. And then I went to their non-fiction section, and while I was there I spotted The Spine initially for Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, and this is a non-fiction book about the system and the origins of our discontents with the system, and I've just heard really wonderful things about this and how well researched it is and how clearly Isabel Wilkerson explains things and about how that kind of internal limiting on hierarchy affects our psyche and how we think and how we act. I also just really like the non-fiction with the orange penguin spines. I tend to really go for them. There's just something about the idea of one day having all of my non-fiction from Penguin lined up on a shelf with this spine that really appeals to me, so I'm looking forward to reading this one too. Up we have Lighthouse Books, which was just amazing with its window display. It was Pride while I was there, Pride month, and I just loved how they did that window. And inside it was so warm, like the yellows and the oranges. It was a really warm, cozy feeling bookshop. I also really love how they had tables with lots of forward-facing books just laid out, and that always really pulls to me because I like to see the covers and it makes me pick things up. Oh, this was nice. This was a pay it forward board where you could pay for someone's book and then leave that receipt there so that they could, if they didn't have enough money, get a book later. And all in all, it was just a really cozy looking bookshop, and I did also pick up a book while I was here, so let me tell you about that one. In Lighthouse Books, I was really looking for a copy of Imogen, obviously by Becky Albertalli, because I'm so excited to read that one, but I asked and unfortunately they didn't have it. But I was really loving their Pride section and their Pride display, and so I did want to get a young adult Pride book from them, and I did, because, well, it was Pride month as well. So I got the Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. This is another one that was on my list, but when I saw it in the shop and I saw these beautiful sprayed edges, I couldn't help myself. I really wanted to get it. I think this is a young adult book where we're following a girl who is queer, and she was outed at her old school, but now she's in a Catholic school and she's determined to be closeted. She's determined that no one's going to know, and she gets to live her life in an easy way. But there's only one girl who is out at the school who is smart and beautiful and gorgeous and perfect, and maybe she can't help her feelings. So I've just heard, again, wonderful reviews about this one, and I'm very excited. Next up came Golden Hare Books, and this was a smaller bookshop, and I was a bit shy of filming in here because it was so small and people could see me. But this is the children's room, which was really cozy and was a separate room, and then this is what the main room looked like, where again the shelves had a lot of forward-facing books. I didn't get anything here, but it was nice to kind of explore it. I went right on to Rare Birds Bookshop, which is one of my favorites that I visited because they only publish female authors. It's all women, and I loved their colored bookshelves, like the pink, the purple, the green, the yellow. Give me all of the colors, and they had different sections, had different color bookshelves, and I was living for it. I browsed here for ages, and I ended up picking up a book I'd never heard of before, which is so rare. I usually always know which book I'm picking up. in Rare Bird's bookshop, I was looking for The Sea of Tranquillity by Emily St. John Mandel because my sister recently read it and she said it was so good, and I found an edition in Pory Books with beautiful sprayed edges that I thought might just be an independent bookshop thing, but I couldn't find it, which was fine. But because I was looking at the shelves so closely, I noticed in their poetry section that they had A Little Resurrection by Selina Nwulu. Now, I had never heard of this poetry collection before, and it's one of the reasons that I enjoy shopping in indie bookshops, because you get to browse, and the way that they lay things out, books catch your eye that you've never seen before. And this one caught my eye because it's in the style of the Bloomsbury Poetry Collection, which means it matches Content Warning Everything by Akwaeke Emezi, which I read a month or two ago. And I didn't know that they had like a whole range of poetry with the same layout, so it caught my eye. And then I started to read a few poems, and Rare Bird Books has seats in the bookshop, so I sat down and I read a few poems and I really liked them, so I thought, I found my next victim, I'm gonna get this poetry collection. So I did. I'm looking forward to reading more black poetry. Oh, this was another favourite, Argonaut Books. So all of their bookshelves are on wheels and they rearrange their bookshelves so you notice different books and genres at different times, and I'd never seen such a good and well-stocked horror, sci-fi, fantasy and poetry section. So this is actually also one of my favourites because I've never seen a bookshop do those genres so well. And then the last book in this haul I got from Argonaut Books. I could have got lost in their poetry selection. It was just the best poetry curation I have ever seen. I also really liked, they had a whole shelf for middle grade fiction and a whole shelf for young adult fiction that was beautifully curated, and then their horror section looked good too. I could have bought loads of books in that shop, and I think it is definitely my favourite curation of books that I saw on my tour. Like it probably was my favourite one. And they also had benches, so even though they didn't have a cafe in the shop, you could like buy it from a bakery or from somewhere else and bring it in and sit down and like read and stuff. So anyway, I got lost in their poetry section, but I also realised that I'd bought a lot of books to add to my TBR, so I ended up picking up a copy of Citizen by Claudia Rankine, which I've actually already read. I read this and I really loved it, I think during one of the lockdowns of the pandemic. It's a mix of like poetry and prose, and it's fantastic and it's wonderful and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't own my own copy and I've been meaning to pick up one for a long time. It's got the penguin spine as well. It has got the penguin spine as well. I just love collecting things. Well, that was the last book I bought. That was not the last place I went. So I went to Typewronger, which is down a set of stairs, and they sell like old typewriters as well as books, but I didn't get anything. They also have secondhand books available too, which were really nice to look through. I love looking at old books. And then my last place I went to was Toppings and Company, and they are known for having so many books. There were so many different rooms, there were multiple floors, and the shelves were huge. They go all the way up, and there are ladders, sliding ladders, guys, so that you could get to books at the top. I was at the low end of my introvert battery, so I didn't get anything. I didn't want to talk to anyone, and I have to show you because it was so funny. In every bookshop I've asked for Imogen, obviously, which had recently come out at the time, so I think people were buying it, so nobody had it in stock. But Toppings and Company had a copy, and even though this doesn't fit the screen very well, I found the copy and it was all the way at the top. I kid you not, it's there at the very top, and I was not going to get on a ladder because I'm scared of heights, and I didn't want to ask because of my introvert battery being so low. So there you have it. Those are the 5 books that I got from Edinburgh in my haul. I'm very happy with the books that I got. I'm so glad that I got some new poetry. I've been meaning to, well, I always mean to get more poetry, but I've just been wanting and craving it lately, and I don't own any unread poetry, so I'm very happy to have some more poetry and to dive into some more non-fiction and young adult, because those are all genres I'm enjoying lately. Thank you so much for joining me and coming along to these bookshops. Have you been to any bookshops before, or can you tell me what's one of your favourite independent bookshops at the moment from wherever you are? Please let me know that in the comment section down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't you forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!